my desk out at the moment. Move that over there. That should be better. We're waiting for the ability to actually go live on Amazon Live. Today's broadcast is to Amazon Live, and we should be live on Amazon Live now. I've still got 22 seconds on the clock. This is all about touring England with Stephen, and my guides are the National Trust and English Heritage, which to those of us in the UK are well known, and I'm introducing them globally with a surprise today. So as soon as that countdown clock finishes, I'm going to hide that and come to me. Hello, and welcome to this live broadcast on Amazon Live. I've got to say, I enjoy being on Amazon Live, and if you're watching me, say hello and perhaps follow. Now, I'm not going to say that again during the broadcast. Basically, if you enjoy what you're seeing, I know that you will follow. If you're watching, we're live on YouTube, Facebook, not LinkedIn today. Don't think if you're on LinkedIn, say hello. I am Stephen Healy, and I am based. It's not going to behave today, is it? Do you have those days when you get the sort of inkling that things might go slightly awry? Well, today could be one of those days, but hopefully you're hearing me. And say hello to Chris. And Chris is confirming that I'm live on Facebook. Thank you, Chris. And thank you for comment. And I should be live. When I put my hand up like this, it means I'm going over to check Amazon Live. And to do that, I need to do one thing first. So bear with me. We're just setting up. And the show proper will start in a moment. Okay. To the right of me, you can see the National Trust, where we're going to go in a moment. Okay, so I'm just waiting for something to open up, and when it does, all will be well. You think when you're actually doing a broadcast, you've thought of everything. You know, you make sure that everything's working, and then suddenly when you go live, which is what I'm now, you suddenly remember you've forgotten to do something. So I've forgotten to do something. So I'm going to correct that whilst we're live and make things a lot easier. So today, we're going to be looking at the National Trust and English Heritage properties, and we're going to be looking, obviously, as we're on Amazon Live today, at the items in the carousel, which will be of use to you when you actually do go out and about visiting properties in the UK or in the USA. And say hello to Chris and hello to Guy. Guy, you found me on Amazon Live. No, it's not just you who forgets things, I do assure you. We're all capable of forgetting things. And I'm just going to go to something I forgot. And I'm going to scroll down and, oh yeah, I got it. I think I've got it. See more, it says there. And if I press that link, I should be able, you see, I've got to have the Amazon Live page open for this to work, because otherwise it's a bit of a problem. Okay, so thank you for joining me. I'm going to put the iPad down for a moment, and we'll come back to the carousel later. What I'm also going to do, because I noticed there's a slight out of sync, is I'm going to switch off my background. And that should be better. Okay, we should be okay now. Yep, that looks better. So the background is gone. I'm going to switch this camera around. And behind me, you can see an iPad stand, which is not in the carousel, because we don't use an iPad stand when we're touring England. Or you don't need it. It'd be difficult to actually put your iPad on there. You could set it up to do a broadcast there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go picture in picture with my shared screen. Okay, and there you have it, me in the right hand corner. I'm going to shrink myself so that you can actually see more of the page. Now, National Trust is an English institution, and it has but one purpose, and that is, if I go there, now that's it, I've shrunk. The National Trust has one purpose, and that's to look after properties in the UK for, well, basically for the country. Properties are actually donated to the trust, and the trust takes over the upkeep of the property, and they gain income via two means. One is subscriptions. Now, Angelica and I are both members of National Trust, and we pay our annual subscription in October, and that allows us to visit National Trust properties over the next 12 months. Now, just to give you an example, our joint fee is around about £90 or $110. And for that, we can visit every single property throughout the National Trust list of properties. And if you are visiting the UK, it's a good idea to actually take out an annual membership before you come, so that you can visit these properties for free. Just to give you an example, if you visited Stonehenge alone, it will cost a couple £52, which is about $65, or probably more. So you actually visit two properties and you pay for itself, and three properties, and there's a whole range of properties to actually choose from. So shall we go for, let's go for a day out, shall we? So I'm going over to the National Trust site, and I can close that tab. Okay, so I'm going over to the National Trust site. I'm just reminding myself, Guy, where I'm supposed to be. And I'm going to days out, and it's asking, do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And it wants me to use my location, but instead of that, I'm just going to type in, if I can type, forgive me, don't want my location. Let's just go for Wiltshire and search. And after thinking, well, it's a very fast site, is this one? It gives me places that are close to home. So this is my home turf. This is the places that I can, Angelica and I can go and visit anytime because they're on the doorstep. And amongst those, if I go over here and over here, or even over here, I'm going to find it in a minute. I swear I am. Okay. Calston and Cherhill Downs is a brilliant country walk. Bristowned Circle we went to 2 weeks ago, and just as a reminder, Avebury was built around the same time as Stonehenge. The stones have not been hewn, so they're rough cut, and inside the circle is actually a village with a pub and a National Trust Centre and Avebury Manor as well. So it's well worth a visit, and it's a place that we actually go to 3 or 4 times a year because they've got brilliant trade secret here. They have the most wonderful cream teas. Okay, now cream tea is English tea, freshly brewed. Okay, put the milk in last, and then a scone or scone, depending on where you come from in the UK, with cream and jam. Now it's either clotted cream or fresh cream. And the question is, your first question of the day is, when you slice the scone in two and you're putting things on the base, does the jam go on first or does the cream go on first? Now in our house, it's always been that the jam goes on first, then the cream. That's just the way. Now, there are difficult to eat because you've got cream oozing everywhere, but you've got the tasty jam, which can be strawberry jam or blackberry jam. In fact, you've got a choice at National Trust properties to which jam you actually have, and that's your first question of the day. Because after, well, as soon as you get to the restaurant, is cream tea, 2 cream teas, please, which is about £11, about $15. And you're set, and you can sit down, you can enjoy the scone with the cream and the jam, and that's all part of going to an English heritage property. Avebury to us is the stones, great walking, and cream tea, and that's the way we love it. So I'm going to go back off solo, And that will mean that we are picture in picture, and we're back to the National Trust property site. So Avery, we've talked about in a previous broadcast, we're looking at National Trust properties. National Trust is an amazing organisation. Its headquarters are 20 miles from us, and they do an amazing job. Now, Laycock, I've spoken about this many times in previous broadcasts. Yeah, Laycock Abbey used to be a nunnery, founded in 1232, and when Henry VIII dissolved the monasteries and the convents, the nuns had to leave, and they went to other establishments, and Henry donated the property to one of his earls, one of his barons. It was passed down and sold to Henry Fox Talbot in the 1700s, and he extended it. He built the second floor. Originally it was just one floor, but he built a second floor onto the property, and it is an amazing place to visit. It's just, well, it's carrying on with the photographs for a moment. If I scroll down, what to expect, things to do. Okay, you can check out the exhibition at the moment. There is a photography museum there. Just to say, point of note, the world's first ever photograph was taken by Henry Fox Talbot whilst living at Laycock Manor. It was on glass, it was of a window, and he developed and fixed it and put it through the wash, and it was the first photograph in the world. The French may dispute that, but there you go. And there's a picture of Harry Potter. 3 of the Harry Potter films were actually filmed at Laycock Abbey, and as a memento they left behind the cauldron which you see there, which you can, if you go to the Abbey, you can actually see the cauldron. Okay, now that's brilliant. I've shown you some pictures, but that's not it today, because over the weekend Angelica and I actually visited Laycock. Morning was, skies were overcast and grey, but I went out with my mobile phone, my home gimbal, and I went live. And Chris knows I was live. Chris was watching. But now we can all watch together an intro to, right, okay, I'll talk about silences in a minute, but let's go over to, as I try to find it, I am determined to find it. I'm going to bring a video up on screen momentarily when it comes into view, and it will. I've got so many things down here you wouldn't believe, and I haven't found it yet. Just a second. It's got to be here somewhere. The best laid plans of mice and men gang agley, which is basically what was said by Robbie Burns. Okay, so a bit of culture there. I'm going to bring the video up on screen. I am going to hide the National Trust for a moment and go, and on the right over there is a video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the video full screen. Okay, so I've shown you the photos of every manor, but that's not the same as actually seeing it for real. So Angelica and I were out yesterday. This is the video that we shot whilst we're walking. I'm going to turn my microphone off so I don't get any echo. And for Chris's sake, I'm going to remind myself to switch it back on afterwards. Here we go. Let's cook in the sun, shall we? As I say, out broadcasting, I try not to photograph people. I try to photograph the sites. So this area is used by the Laycock Allotment Association. Right, let's come round. And this is where the gardeners, I said Laycock already, you know where I am. When I've been live on Amazon Live on Tuesdays, I've been doing English country houses and castles, and every time I have shown you the National Trust website with Laycock Abbey. Well, today we're there. This is Laycock Abbey. We're just going to the gardens first, and then we're going to take a tour of the exterior of the Abbey. I've just been told that the upper rooms, I'm not sure whether I can photograph or not, actually close in 2 minutes. We're not going to make it. So here are the gardens at Laycock Abbey. And again, go out in the garden, look at the beautifully tended borders against the wall. I've not been down here before. Let's go down here because I can show you something. Okay, in the 1700s, the Abbey, which we will see in a minute, became the home of Mr. Fox Talbot. And Mr. Fox Talbot was a scientist, and dedicated to him within that building there is a museum of photography with cameras from the 1700s onwards, and it is well worth a visit. As I say, we're at Laycock Abbey, which is approximately 3 miles from Melksham and very close to the M4 if you ever get round this way. So let's go out of this particular garden. This is where everything is organised from, and it's a beautiful summer's day. Just to let you know, it's the 22nd of August, and Angelica is out in Avebury Village. She's going to the National Trust shop. We've just enjoyed a wonderful lunch at the National Trust restaurant, and it's given me the energy to actually come out here. Now I'm going to keep the camera on the left hand side because there are people coming towards me, and I'm going to head off over the grass. So these are the gardens that actually surround the Abbey, and as you can see from the height of the trees, they've been here quite some time. And there's a signpost here. Let's read the signpost so we know where we are. Abbey grounds to the left, Abbey entrance straight on, and toilets to the left. We're going to go over here though on our way to the Abbey entrance and come down to this beautiful column. I don't know whether it will actually have a note of what it is. Let's see, shall we? We can do anything. As we're out and about at Avebury and just looking around the gardens, and the beauty of the gardens is there are paths that you can go on, but unless they say otherwise you can actually go off the beaten track. But let's go back to the path. It's surrounded by farmland, and as you'll see shortly, if you've been, as I say, been following me on Amazon Live, you're about to see something very familiar. Right, ahead, because this was founded as a nunnery, we have the stable yards. And I'm just trying to avoid people, but get a shot of the stable yard so you've got an idea of how it used to be. Because this building, I'm trying to go over here, this building dates from the 13th century, and we're going to go through there in a moment. I'll just give you a panoramic view of in here though. We have in here, we have rooms, we have stables, we have the brewery, and I'm just going to go across here. Okay, so when this was originally built, and you can look up at the architecture and the clock saying it's nearly 4 o'clock. So there you are. It's nearly 4 o'clock and I'm here at Avebury, and we're actually going to have a look at the Abbey in a moment. But you can see this has all been preserved. It's not necessarily all from the 13th century. Some of it will have been from the 16th and 17th centuries. But I'm just going to go into the corner and just have a look. Now, Anglican and I are fortunate. This is actually on our doorstep, and we can come here and go for walks in the grounds. Now, not everything is open to the public, as that private sign dictates, but if I go over into the corner, you can see the windows, leaded windows, and the floor up there, and the floor up there, and a chimney at the top, which you probably didn't get in shot then. Okay, so just walking around, being nosy. The gardens here are just first class, and all the National Trust properties have permanent staff. They also have volunteers, and this is the area in which they have everything they need, the lockers, etc., and meeting rooms. But just look up at the clock tower. The clock, I can tell you, having checked my Fitbit, is actually telling the right time. Okay, so let's head out. Right, this is Avebury Abbey, founded in the 1300s and founded by Ela, who is Bishop or Bishopess of Salisbury. Everything revolves in our area around Salisbury. When we went to the castle in Devizes, the castle was actually built by the Bishop of Salisbury. So the church played a great part in life. This was a nunnery and was opened. It took its first novates in 1332. So we're talking a long time ago, hundreds of years. And if we look up, just a magnificent building. And for 100 and, I can't go in the entrance because they're actually closing, but I don't mind about that. But if we look back, there's the clock, and then just pan round. The whole structure was started in the 1300s, nearly 700 years ago. And we can see over the doorway hieroglyphics, which, or embellishments, let's call them that. Okay, now I do want to show you something which is peculiar, I think, to England. There is a wall which is enclosing the properties, and before the wall is a ditch. And this, if you've ever heard, well, you may not have heard of it, this is a ha-ha. And I don't know the derivation of the name, but we've got one, I showed you one in Devizes Park, and basically it's a ditch with a mound behind it and a wall. And all that was done when the Abbey was created. Okay, so let's go over here and get another shot of the Abbey. And it is a hot day today. Okay, and there's the main entrance. Well, presumably that was the main entrance of the Abbey. So if we just scan along. Okay, now I'm live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and my websites. Obviously, I'm the one who's actually carrying the camera at the moment. So if I cannot see your comments at the moment, I'm going through here. Okay, and I've got a trail that goes around the back. And this is a venerable old tree, isn't it? Just look at, I mean, the actual branches. Wow. It's incredible what you find. And as I said, this is surrounded by farmland. Now, there's nothing grazing at the moment. But if we go over here, and out of this secret, okay, we can come and get another view of the abbey itself. Now, right, and back to me and Chris's sigh of relief from Chris, because I actually managed to unmute. Now, to answer the questions that have been posed whilst I was actually showing that short video, Guy is saying it's not just him who forgets. Well, that's true. I forget things all the time. And the question is the trust a private thing? National Trust is, in actual fact, an independent organisation. It's owned by its members. And members pay an annual subscription. There's an AGM, annual general meeting, and people are voted in onto the council, which actually runs it. As I said earlier, people actually give in their wills their properties to the National Trust. The National Trust takes them over and is then responsible for the upkeep. Now, the upkeep is from subscriptions, it's from visitor fees. When you, as I say, when you go to Stonehenge, you pay £26, $40. So subscriptions and entrance fees actually fund what we're doing and what we saw then. I showed you the aha. That is exactly how it's spelt. And basically it's a wall, then a ditch, and then a mound. And I will look up the derivation of aha, but for the moment it does escape me. So if you want to look up yourselves, then please do. And if I was just live on Facebook, then that would be one thing. I'm actually on Amazon Live, so I can't actually share anything whilst I'm live. The whole idea is that you actually watch on the Amazon Live page, and I'm grateful for everybody who is watching at this moment. Okay, so let's hide that video. We'll come back to the video in a moment. You will see the rest of the video, and I'm going to show on screen this screen. So I'm going to put this in the broadcast. I'm going to go picture in picture, and there you have it. So we've seen the pictures of Laycock Abbey, but we've also now actually seen it in real life. Angelica and I go out at weekends. I go out with my mobile phone, my home gimbal, and my lapel microphone, and we actually shoot our visit, or part of our visit. I mean, we visit for 2 or 3 hours, but we do photograph and broadcast live our journey. And we've done that with 4 National Trust properties now. I've written a blog post today, which has all the videos on it. And if you go to Google and you type in my name, possibly like that, my name over there somewhere, and you'll find Stephen Healy. And if you type in Stephen Healy Laycock, then you'll find the video and you'll find all the videos. So Stephen Healy Laycock Abbey, and you can watch the video the whole way through. And I've actually done a blog post today, which has got all of the videos that I've done when I've been out and about, and they're all in the one place. So you can watch them whenever you wish. Put some background music on, turn my volume off, and just, in fact, that's an idea. What I think I might do is to take clips from the videos and put backing tracks on them. So music rather than my voice. It's just, 2 or 3 minute outtakes of what's actually in the live video. It's all about repurposing content and being able to create short videos with music, and you'll be able to tour the places and listen to music at the same time. Or if you want your own choice of music, which is obviously an option, then just turn my sound off and listen to music. Okay. So going back, I got my iPad. Every so often, I just pick up my iPad and catch up to date. So everybody who's watching, thank you very much. And we're touring England today. Now, point, and perhaps you can help with this, guy. When I showed a little bit of the video yesterday, as part of my lights, camera, action show, a lady, an American lady, said, "Well, what about USA culture?" And that set me thinking, because I love exploring. So I found a website. I want to know whether this is on its own, because you asked a question a moment ago. You said, how is the National Trust run? And it's not government, it's not private, it's actually a public organisation. But there is the National Trust for Historic Preservation, which is an American site. So I can tour England and America, but I gotta say, I know more about England than I do about America, but I can learn from you. So shortly we'll be looking at that website, and you can tell me whether there are other American websites like it. Because what I would love to do is actually tour American sites of interest. Okay, now I know all the tourist ones, the ones that appear in the movies and in television series. It'd be nice to know some properties that don't make the headlines, but you love to visit. Okay, so if there are properties that in the States that you love to visit, then please make a comment now and just say where I should look in order to find out more about American history and the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Because in these times, it is good to be able to travel back and imagine how people lived their lives hundreds of years ago. And if we go to Stonehenge, thousands of years ago, and it's all part of our heritage. And I know we never learn from our mistakes, but if we get an understanding of how people lived 100, 200, 300, 400 years ago, then it helps us to understand some of what is going on in the world today. Not all, we never will, but some of what's actually going on in the world. So history is important, and being able to visit your history. Now, as I say, there are two English organisations, and the second one is English Heritage. Now, whereas National Trust look after country houses and places of interest and national monuments, English Heritage looks after castles and also country houses. And English Heritage is funded by subscription and by donation and by people paying at the door. Okay, so let's stop sharing the site I'm sharing at the moment and go and have a look at English Heritage. And if I go here, I can, because I'm in the BeLive studio, I can actually, if I get the right button, I can actually share the website. So let's bring the website in. And just forgive me for a moment, I will be back. Okay. Sometimes I think that I would be better off if I had a show producer. So I'm going over here and I'm going to bring it up on screen. Then I'm going to go picture in picture. And here we have it. This is the English Heritage website. Now you can see at the top that they're responsible for a very famous national monument, which is Stonehenge. Now, I talked about the blog earlier, and I'd love to be able to post a link to it. But the blog post is on my website, and it does contain the video that I actually made when I visited Stonehenge. And as Chris knows, that was a very rainy day. The map that you can see is the southwest of England. So the rightmost red symbols are at Stonehenge and Old Sarum. Stonehenge, as we all know, was 4,500 years ago. It was built by people from England, Ireland, Scotland, and from Europe. It's the time of the Beaker people, and it is definitely a place to be on your list to actually visit if you come to the UK. It's about 120 miles from London, and there are coach tours which run from London to Stonehenge, and you can visit Stonehenge and Salisbury Cathedral. Talking of Salisbury Cathedral, before they founded the cathedral in the centre of Salisbury, And some of you may know Salisbury for the wrong reasons, for the poisoning that took place there 2 or 3 years ago. Old Sarum was the original cathedral, and it's built on a hillside. It overlooks Salisbury, and at the moment it is a ruin. In actual fact, what we can do, instead of talking about this, I'm going to type in Old Sarum. If I could spell it, it would be good. So OLDSRUM, Old Sarum, recognised, and we're going to go to the Old Sarum page. Now this, and it's going to come up with a list of matching properties, and there's only one that we want, and that's this one. So this was the first Salisbury Cathedral, and I wish I knew a way of actually removing that map, because it's actually spoiling the photographs. Oh dear, there's no X to move it. You can book, but it's one of those, you know, when people design websites and they don't get it entirely right. But there you've got a very good representation of Old Sarum at the moment, and you can actually visit Old Sarum when you visit Salisbury Cathedral. And I'm hoping to scroll down and give you a timeline. It was started around about 400 BC. So it was started 2,400 years ago, and the outer defences were built. Then the Romans occupied in AD 43. So 43 years after the birth of Christ, they were in England, and they went to Old Sarum. They made it their own. They fortified it, and then after that, defences were improved. In the Norman era, it was turned into a Motte and Bailey castle, and then the grand rebuilding took place. This is an artist's impression, because as we know from moments ago, cameras weren't around then. And in 1705, it was the Queen's prison. Queen Eleanor of Aquitaine spent 16 years in the castle. And again, that's a representation of the castle. In 1190, it was abandoned and the new cathedral was built, and they moved. So it took 41 years to actually create and move to the new cathedral. And it was excavated, and the remains are in museums in Wiltshire. And these are photographs of the area and places that you can actually visit nearby. And there is your membership, £51 for one person, and nearly double that for 2 people for the year. But that's for the year, and you can get your fees back if you just visit 2 or 3 properties. Now, on a summer's day, this is a beautiful place to actually visit. Okay, you can see that you've got views out over Salisbury. You can walk around all the ruins. There's no keep off the grass signs. You can, in your imagination, work out how it was built. There are boards around the site showing you as it was. Okay, again, an artist's representation. I'm just going to press this book your visit site because it's annoying me. Has that taken us away from the page? I fear it has. Just a minute. Just let me come back in. That's taken us away from the page. That I've got to say sorry here, but that is astoundingly bad website design. And I know Guy will agree with me that I should just be able to X that photograph. Okay, so you can walk across that bridge, you can walk around the ruins, you can walk around the countryside. A lot of walks actually start from Old Sarum, and event-wise, there are events during the course of the year, and the history of the site. The history of Old Sarum, there's a representation of what it looked like. And from English Heritage, not only look after the properties, they know that not everybody's actually going to go and visit. So the sites have a full description. And if you type the 2 words English Heritage, you'll get taken straight to the website. Okay. So Old Sarum is a place that you can actually go and visit. Now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back to the beginning. Okay, so we're visiting England with Stephen, and we're going to go back to the home page. It will get there eventually. Okay, and there are 383 different places to visit, and I'm going to go back again. Okay, and that doesn't figure. I'm trying to find another castle. Bear with me a minute, that doesn't figure. Right, okay, another favourite of ours, where we've been before, is Carlisle Castle. Now, Carlisle Castle is about 80 miles away from Manchester, and it has to be on the list of places that you go and visit. Some of the sites that we're looking at, I've been fortunate to visit, and Carlisle Castle is one of those. And you really need to do a day. In a day, you can do two things. One, you can go and visit Carlisle Castle, which has got an amazing history. It was where Queen Mary was imprisoned, and it's still standing. It's still standing. It's not ruins. It's not typical. It is a great example of a castle, and it's a day out. So you go get a hotel near Carlisle. Go and visit the castle in the morning, because you can spend 2 or 3 hours just looking around. Do go to the English Heritage Cafe, because they will give you lunch. They might even give you roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, which is a great English dish which you can savour before you set out in the afternoon to go along Hadrian's Wall. Carlisle is the best place to stay if you're going to visit Hadrian's Wall, and we did Hadrian's Wall in a previous programme. Hadrian's Wall was built by the Romans. We've just heard about the Romans actually being at Old Sarum in AD 43. They also then went further north, and they got to Carlisle, and then they got north of Carlisle, and they ran into the fact that the tribes in Scotland, I'm going to say, they were not friendly. They were warlike, and the Romans wanted to be able to control England. They also didn't want the Scots or Picts actually invading. So they built a wall which goes across the country from west to east, or east to west, from one ocean to another ocean. And Hadrian's Wall was well, if we could have seen it when it was built, it's partly stone wall, it's partly turf. It's just an amazing achievement to actually build it, all man-made by the Romans, by slaves. And you can visit that in the afternoon, or you can start your visits. In fact, 2 days in Carlisle, and you can visit the castle, you can go to Hadrian's Wall, and you can visit the forts. Now, the Hadrian's Wall has forts at certain distances along the length of the wall, and some of the forts are reasonably preserved. Some of them, like Old Sarum, they're down to the lower level. But they're worth visiting. Every castle site has a museum which tells you the history. It's great for children, because if you want to teach your children about Romans and what the Romans did for Great Britain, then Hadrian's Wall is a great example of that. And that's just round about Carlisle. Okay, now just going to the carousel. The Hoem gimbal is the one that I use when I'm out filming, as we were at Laycock Abbey earlier. So that's the gimbal I use. If you want to know more about English castles, then again, on Amazon.com, you've got a book all about English castles. And whilst I'm touring them all and photographing them, you can actually have a look and find out more about English castles. And there are 2 books in there which will help you. And then we spoke a moment ago about English heritage, and you can actually use the book that's showing now to actually plan your visit here. And the other thing you can do is to actually look at English country houses. Now, when I'm out and about doing my national trusting and within Gallica, doing National Trust English Heritage Visiting Places at the weekend, because I don't broadcast desktop during the weekend. I actually take the weekend off, but I do a 30-minute video over the course of the weekend, and that's what I'm showing you in the broadcast today and tomorrow. I'm using an Android phone at the moment. I'm looking at the iPhone, which is down in the carousel at the moment. I'm also looking, was two iPhones, the new Apple iPhone and another iPhone. And that iPhone, that's the one that's in the carousel at the moment, today is 11% off. So you'd be saving $206 on that iPhone. Now, I'm a Windows guy, Windows since 2005, but in order to go live today, I bought an iPad. And I am so impressed by the iPad. So impressed. It's down in the carousel, but it just works. I bought the Wi-Fi only because I wouldn't carry this around with to take photographs. I use the iPhone, but my iPhone, I need to change it. I need to change my phone. At the moment, I've got a Samsung, and I'm looking at the Samsung Galaxy, which is down in the carousel again, and it's a trace between the Samsung Galaxy and the iPhone. If you get any thoughts, because the iPhone Android wars will continue for a long time to come. If you love your iPhone, please do say. If you love your Android phone, please do say. If you love your Google Pixel, then please say. Yeah, and it gives me some things to look at. And basically, during these broadcasts, what I'm love to do is to actually get the conversation going. I want to say thank you to Guy and to Chris for commenting. I'm going to over for a second. Just excuse me a moment. I'm going to put my hand up. Please, may I leave the room? I'm just going over to the Amazon site to make sure I haven't missed any comments. And Chris is saying she puts the jam on first and that's gone. And thank you, Chris. Chris has got the iPhone 11 Pro Max and she loves it. So thank you very much. Very helpful. I'll go and take a look at the iPhone 11. So if, like Chris, you've got a favorite phone, then do put it in the comments. Now, if you're going to go out and about filming, as I do at English Heritage and National Trust properties, you need a gimbal. And the gimbal that I use, surprisingly, you're going to be surprised by this, I know you are. The gimbal that I use, he said, frantically searching through the list, going past the socks, going past the Nikon camera, going past the menswear, and I got gone the wrong way. Just a minute. We'll get there in a minute. I'm in no rush. Let's go back. Yes. Okay. When I'm out and about, I actually use a gimbal to keep the camera steady. That's the one I'm using. That's the videos that you're seeing are actually shot with a phone on that camera. It's very stable. It's very lightweight. I mean, I had gimbals back in the day and they were so heavy. Now it's lightweight. You forget you're actually holding it, which is perhaps a good idea. And the other thing you actually need, and I can't emphasize this too much, which is why I'm going to go through the carousel, hopefully find it. I've got 40 items in the carousel, all in relation to what we're doing. But the thing you do need is the lapel microphone. Attaches to your clothing, plugs into your mobile phone, and there you are, there you have it. And the beauty of that is that when you're actually touring places and you're providing a narration, then your narration can be heard over the top of any background noise. Yeah, so that's a good reason to actually have a lapel mic. Okay, and a lapel mic, dual purpose. Let's be honest about this. Okay, when you're out and about, the lapel mic gives the clarity you need for your voice to be heard when you're visiting English Heritage or National Trust. Yeah. In addition to that, if you do go live, I used a lapel microphone for 3 years of my broadcasting career, and I've been doing this 6 years now. And I looked at the Udemy site, and the Udemy recommended this Sharp lapel microphone to me. I bought it, and it total changed from the inbuilt microphone. And that's what I use. I use the lapel microphone sometimes on my PC, but I've got the Audio-Technica microphone as well. So the lapel mic, I could use the lapel, I could use the Audio-Technica. You're listening to an Audio-Technica microphone right now, and just so you know, My camera now, this minute, is a Logitech Brio. Okay, I'm not sure whether I put that in the carousel. If I didn't, it'll be there next week. Okay, right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play another bit of a video, and just let me find the right video. Just let me go down here into the, I've got a staging area, and in the staging area, I've got everything that I can actually play during my live broadcast. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I am going to bring up a video. Okay, so I'm bringing the video on screen. We're traveling again. This is a National Trust property. This is working out fine, Chris, because everywhere we're going is actually a National Trust property. So as well as showing you the photographs, I can actually show you. Well, let's just stop screen share before we go into this. And I'm going to share the National Trust page again, just to give you an overview of where we're actually going to visit. So I'm looking for the National Trust, and I'm going to bring that in. Okay, I'm in my Be Live studio, which means that I can share images, I can share screen, I can share video that's actually stored on YouTube, and I can bring up my shared screen again. And if I go take myself off full screen, okay, you can see the video there, and you can see the shared screen. Let's put the shared screen full screen, so you can still hear me. But what we're going to do on the National Trust site is I'm going to go back and go back to the beginning, and I'm going to go to Days Out. Okay, and this time I know where I'm going. I'm going to Silvery. So let's give you a bit of the background before we actually play the video. Misspelt it. These things are going to happen. So we're going to Avebury. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, because we've been to Avebury once, we're going to go to Avebury twice. I'm going to drop that video, and I'm going to go picture in picture again, so that you can actually see me whilst I actually talk about this. This is Bristowned Circle. Now, it's quite probable that you've heard of Stonehenge. Stonehenge is a cousin to Avebury. Avebury is in the same county. It's in Wiltshire in England. It's about 110 miles away from London, and it is a stone circle. And the stone circle itself is larger than the stone circle at Stonehenge. You can visit Aylesbury. You don't have to. You can visit Aylesbury for free, some of it. But for the major parts, you can go to the Manor Garden, you can go in the Manor House, you can visit the museum. They have a museum. Let's just go to the museum for a moment. The museum has artifacts which are, you recognize that screenshot in a moment and tell you. As artifacts that have been found in the surrounding area. And it doesn't tell you too much about it on the website. So I'm going to come back. Okay. Backlink in your browser, but it's in summer. It's brilliant. It's a stone circle and henge. It's a World Heritage site, just like Stonehenge is, and you can get from Stonehenge to Avebury in about 35 minutes. So Avebury, henge and stone circles is just part of this incredible landscape, and it's well visiting the sites below. Okay, so let's come back to the studio, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Avebury on screen, because rather than just show you the pictures, I can show you the film. So I'm going to hide that. I'm going to put the video full screen, and you and I are going to take a short tour. This is not the full video. I'm just going to play about 10 minutes of this. This is Avebury, and if you go to Stonehenge, don't forget to go to Avebury. Hello, Stephen in wonderful Wiltshire, and say hello to YouTube, Twitter, Facebook and Twitch. Today we're actually live in Avebury, and I'm just going to pan around, and we're going for a little walk around Avebury. Let's follow Angelica. and keep away from other people and take them inside this building. As you can see, it is in fact, if we look up, it's a bit dark in there. Okay, this is the, right, so we're going to head out and we're going to take you on a tour. So it's been decided. So let's just go ahead. The whole area is looked after by a National Trust. This is a National Trust property donated to the Trust. And this is the museum, the Alexander Keeler Museum, and in here are artefacts discovered in the area around here, and it's a very good exhibition if you want to hop in and find out the archaeology of Avebury. And you can see we're actually in a park. Okay, now this was also a country house, and if we go down here we can see, I'll get up against the railings, we can see Avebury Manor House, used in BBC films, possibly. Today you can actually visit any part of it. There's some tea rooms at the back, or used to be, and some beautiful gardens. But we're going on the outside because today we're headed around Avebury. In actual fact, okay, we've got to have booked in advance for that, which we can't do. We haven't today. We just come on spec because it's a beautiful day and we're out and about. I will find out the significance of this particular area which has been walled off, and I shall let you know what it is. But this is, I'm just giving people a chance to move on a little bit. I'm not going to point the camera over there. Okay, so we're walking through the churchyard, and if I pan, and what we'll do is we'll just head over here because we can. So we're walking around the churchyard. We're off the main path, so we shouldn't get many people. And oh, we saw a rabbit. You saw the rabbit too, I hope. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter and Twitch, I cannot, on my webpage as well, I cannot see your comments. I'll answer them when we get back to bed. But you can see, take your walk through here and then come round to the front of the church. Now we're actually just to one side of Bristowned Circle, which you'll see in a moment as I go and follow the path. We'll come past the church, and I'll give you a view of the church in a moment. There is the church and the steeple, and it serves it is a church which still serves the local population. Okay, and I'm going to go up and down because the ground is going up and down. I'm going to go to the right, okay, and follow the path that's here and just go amongst the trees, and then we'll stop for a moment and we can have a look. Okay, you're out and about with Stephen, Wiltshire in England, and I'm with Angelica today. It's Friday the 13th, and the clock says it's 1:45, which it is. Okay, so beautiful church, and you've got the clock, and then you've got, okay, about face. This has rather unique entrance to the church and the graveyard. I'm not too sure of the history of it. We'll just look at it for now, and I'm just going to make a slight adjustment so you can actually see where I'm going. I'm going to go through the archway, and there is a phrase which is carved up above in Latin, and my Latin is a bit rusty, so we'll leave that for a moment. There are seats for people to sit, there are gates to close the church grounds if you wish, and we're going across now, and this is Avebury Village Hall. Now this village hall is used for events, it's used for craft fairs, it can be hired. It's also where the village meetings take place, and when it's open as craft fair you can actually get, so it's a social centre in Avebury, and okay, I can't park outside. So we've virtually come round 180 degrees, and we're now coming up on the entrance, which is on our left. I'm just going to carry on for a little bit. Hopefully I've got my geography right. If I haven't, we could be here and get lost, but we won't. Okay, now we can see on the sign, car park is up there, and to our left is the farmyard and the cafe and the manor and the garden. But if we go up here, and this is why we're here actually, it's good to be close to the cafe and to be close to the garden, but we're here for something different. This area is open to the public, and there it is. You can see that that's part of the arc of the stone circle, and the village which we're walking through now is actually within the stone circle. So unlike Stonehenge where you've got, I'm going to try and get the gate. Okay, I've got the gate, and I'm going to hold it for a moment. Right, okay, we're off now. This is where we really want to be. This is Bristowned Circle, which was created at the same time as Stonehenge, and you can see that there's been some repair work taking place. But this is a maintained site, and it's got a path running around the edge. So I'll just let you soak up the stones. Where you've got a marker, it means there was a stone there. There's now a concrete slab. As we get further on, you'll see more of the original stones from 4,500 years ago. Now this is also, incredibly, a working farm, and the sheep actually come out here to graze, and they graze all areas to keep it under control, as well as the grass being cut. It's being cut by sheep as well. Right, so we're coming to our first stone, which is not a marker. And you can see that the circumference of this is just a lot bigger than Stonehenge. And again, the stones have been, of course, they've been here for 4,000 years. And again, we've got another stone marker, followed by a stone. Now, excavations have shown where the stones are, and that's why we've got markers to actually represent the stones, because there were stones in situ. Unlike Stonehenge, the stones at Avebury have not been hewn, they've not been cut, so they were exactly as they were brought here, and they would have been moved to here on rollers, on wooden rollers, trees cut down, branches lopped off, and you've then got a roller, lower the stone onto 5 or 6 rollers and gently push, and the rollers turn and the stone moves. Take the roller at the back, put it in front and repeat, and in that way you can move an object of this size. A team of people. The people who built Avebury came from throughout Europe and throughout Great Britain, in actual fact, to actually put these stones. It is a World Heritage Site. If you type in Avebury, that's Avebury, into Wikipedia, it will take you directly to the site and you can find out more. Now, we've got some of the smaller stones in this field, but over in the field over there you can see some larger stones. That's where we're headed. Like Stonehenge, I don't think these stones have names, they just are. And you can see part of the trail over there, people stood on the hill. Now, going over here, around the perimeter of the stone circle is a vellum or ditch, and that ditch was to keep people out. So that the ditch runs all the way around the outside of the circle. If you're watching live, thank you. If you're watching on Amazon Live, this video is being shown on Amazon Live on Wednesday as part of my country walking this evening. We're definitely out of the country, we're definitely walking, and we're definitely at somewhere different. Now, another fact, this is the main road, Devizes to Swindon, and it runs through the stone circle. Obviously, originally it started out as a cart track and then became a major road. This is the road, for those of you who know it, this is the road the 49 bus takes when it's actually going from Devizes to Swindon. Right, on most of my trips out, I actually encounter rain. Today it's possibly going to rain, but it's not raining at the moment. Okay, and we're coming up to a star and a gate, and try and film. That's when you've walked around the stone circle, you can go to that pub and you can have something to eat, and the food has been recommended, or if you wish you can try a pint of English ale. Now I need somebody's help now, hopefully. As I'm pointing my camera this way, magically the gate will open and the camera's pointed away from us. I'm being looked after royally today. Okay, it's coming down to the road. I want to make sure that there is no traffic either way. Are we good? No? Right. Okay, so just waiting a minute. Okay, so we're now crossing the road that runs right through the circle and going across the other side, and my own friendly favourite gatekeeper. Right, okay. Angelica is my favourite gatekeeper, and she knows that. Now, a couple of things from that video, which was shot just 2 weeks ago. First of all, you'll notice that at times in the video, I'm actually walking very fast. This is not because I'm walking very fast. I just want to talk because I'm a software guy. I love software. I love anything that's going to save me time. Now, when you're doing videos like that, you're walking around the English countryside and around National Trust properties, we were there at Avebury. Basically, I do a running commentary, and that commentary is to accompany the video so that you know what you're looking at. But every so often in the video, you're going to get points at which I stop talking. Okay, silence. And the silence, well, is not good, because what you want is a continuous commentary. There is a piece of software called TimeBolt, and I bought TimeBolt 2 weeks ago. I'm finding it invaluable because it can take a video with the ums and ahs in and the hesitations, and it just removes them. And I don't have to think about it. Now, most software, and I looked at some today on AppSumo, say there is a monthly limit on the number of hours you can actually auto edit to take out the silencers. TimeBolt doesn't. It's a desktop system, downloads to your desktop on Mac and on Windows, and it just works. It works out the box. You tell it which video, you tell it whether to just speed things up or to put. It's very fancy, and I'll be looking at it on Thursday in my show on Thursday, which goes out, I think, in the afternoon. So look forward to that. The other thing is that when you are doing the videos, there are things that you actually need. I mentioned earlier in this broadcast today that you actually need, well, you need two things. Okay. One is a professional grade lapel microphone. So when you're doing the voiceovers, use the lapel microphone and your voice carries over the top of whatever background there is, because you notice we had traffic there. And that's a very busy road. That's a bit road between Devizes and Swindon. It's the route that the bus takes, and it can get very noisy. With the lapel microphone, the one that's in the carousel, then I can be heard above the cars, which is absolutely brilliant. The other thing is that when we do go out and about, it's nice to be able to sit down. Now, National Trust properties, English Heritage properties, all have benches where you can sit down, take a breather before you carry on. But it's always good to have your own folding seats with you so that when you need a breather, you can just take one wherever you are. Okay, so those are two things in the carousel, which I did want to talk about. Now, when I was doing I'm going to stop sharing that website, free up some resources, and I can definitely close that website now. So I'm just closing the website. I'm closing my blog site. I've still got English Heritage open. I'm closing that because we've been to English Heritage, and it's back to me. Okay, so that was a bit of housekeeping just to keep things in order and make sure that I'm not running out of memory or anything. Right, when I was broadcasting yesterday, I showed a clip from the video you saw earlier about Avebury and Avebury, sorry, not Avebury, about Laycock Abbey. And the lady said in the comments yesterday, and thank you for the comments, all the comments coming in, I'll get to those in a moment, said, well, why English history? Well, basically, because I'm based in England and I know my English history, I don't know about anybody else. Well, only from reading about it. In England, I can actually go and visit the places, which makes it a lot easier. But I did think, well, if I'm talking about English history, is this not an opportunity to learn something about American history? So I went this morning and I found a website, and I want to know whether this is the best website to find out about USA American history. So let's have a look at the website. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, and it should in a second allow me to share my screen. I'm going to go over here. Okay, now this is a website which is not about my history, it's about American history. So let's take the title off, hide the video, hide that one. hide that one. So it's just me. And hopefully in a second, I might have to do this again. I've got that many things down below that I may have missed one. Let's just share this on screen and see what happens. Nope. Is that the right one? Yes, it is. Okay. Right, this website, and I'm going to go picture in picture so you can see a bit better, is Saving America's Historic Sites. Now, what I want to do is I want to learn about these sites, and I want your input whilst I'm doing it. So whilst we're live and talking about American history, then I'll tell you about English history, but if you would please tell me about American history. And this is one of the sites. I'll put all the links together in a blog post, and if you search for me, then you'll find the blog post. And I'm Stephen Healy with a V. So this website is new to me, so I don't know what's on it. So let's explore. This is American Historic Sites. And down the page, it says National Trust. Okay, so we're talking National Trust in America, and they're looking after these sites on your behalf. So historic sites explore an unequaled collection of historic places. And I'm going to scroll down. They accept donations, and there they have it. It's a map of the states, and each of the red markers donates a property. So let's go to Colorado. And in Colorado, they're looking after the Hotel de Paris Museum, which looks, well, very interesting property. National Trust Historic Site, Hotel de Paris, located in Silver Plume, Georgia. It's a National Historic Landmark and is one of the Old West's most colourful gathering places. Prior to the Leadville Strike of 1878, the Georgetown region was the most important source of silver in Colorado and briefly attracted so many residents that it was one of the most popular cities in the state. Because of the wealth of the mining district was centered on Georgetown, the architecture reflects the families, and it is superb architecture. Okay, so I'll investigate that when I finish this broadcast. But let's go back to the map again and say I'm looking at the website of the National Trust for Historic Preservation in the USA. I'm looking for your input as to which sites I should actually use. But this is where we start. And let's go back to the map. If I press back in my Chrome browser, we're going to go back to the map. And these are the properties that the National Trust actually look after. And let's go over to the East Coast. And that one is Drayton Hall. So let's have a look at Drayton Hall. Now, if you've got videos of these places, that would be absolutely brilliant. I can play the videos within the... Oh, wow. Now I'm being blown away. That is a beautiful property. And Drayton Hall is in Charleston, South Carolina. Is one of the most iconic buildings in North America. And you probably tell me more about it than I can actually reading here. Drayton Hall's preservation philosophy was groundbreaking for its time and unique among the historic sites today. In order to preserve the 7 generations of history within its walls, a radical decision was made to stabilize the house rather than restore it to a particular period and to preserve it as it was acquired from the family in the 1970s. So National Trust take over properties, and this property was built in 1738. Let's just scroll back up because that is some photograph. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my own research. But if you have ideas of places that I should visit, then please do let me know. And over to Guy, who says he got a Samsung Note 10 Android and well, when he turns the camera on, it works okay. Chris is saying next school year, I can't wait to use a wireless mic with my iPhone and ceramic dual channel microphone. Excellent. And that's Time Bolt. Time Bolt, Chris, is, I'm just going to come back up on screen in a moment. I know my ball paint is showing then. It does. It doesn't have a lifetime deal. It's basically $67 a year. When it does have a lifetime deal, I'll let you know. Okay, but Time Bolt takes out all the quiet bits in the videos that we actually create. Now, I would have a vote on which video we play out, but I'm going to go. And thank you, everybody who's watching live. You make this a blast, and I do enjoy being on Amazon Live. I just want to mention one piece of kit before we carry on, and there are two of those in the carousel, and that's the first one. Okay, when I'm out and about, I always wear Aftershocks headphones. These are they in beautiful blue, and they are bone conducting earpieces, which means they don't sit in your ear, which means you don't know you're wearing them. They're so light, and the quality of the sound is just incredible. But the beauty of these headphones is that when you're walking about in traffic or somebody shouts from behind you, you can still hear everything. Okay, so they're great for when you're actually out broadcasting. They're great for when you're listening to music. They're great when you're out and about. So, and you'll find, I know Chris has got two pairs of these. You'll find another set of Aftershocks titanium in the carousel. So do scroll along the carousel and you'll find more and more products. In fact, you find a wide range of products, all have some tangential relation to English Heritage National Trust and the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Okay, so I'll look more into the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and I'll pick out my favourite properties. We'll show them on the broadcast next week. If you've got places you think I should visit virtually, then please do let me know, and I'll crack on with it. And I'll learn some American history as I'm taking you around the UK. Okay, so we're going to play out with a medley. We're going to play out with the Laycock video. During the time that the video is playing, wait a minute, I got a message from Chris. You have interviewed an American guide. Perhaps she can help you. Libby. Oh, yes. Okay, that's a good idea. I interviewed Libby, and Libby is down south. Good idea. I'll have a word with her. She might take us on a virtual tour if we ask nicely, because she is down the south of America, where Heidi used to live. I'm racking my brains about. Great idea, Chris. Okay, so I'm going to play out with two short videos. We're going to finish these two videos off because people earlier have seen half of them. I don't think that's fair. So I'm going to bring the video back up on screen. I'll see you in between the videos. I'm going to hide that. Okay, I'm going to go side by side again. And we're going to continue. Remember, I just successfully negotiated the busy road. And we're now across the road. And we're going to continue our journey at Avebury. And then we'll come back to Laycock. Okay, so here goes. I'm going to put the video full screen. Switch off my microphone. Press play. Here's Bristowned Circle, maintained by the National Trust, visited by Stephen and Angelica 2 weeks ago. Let's go. Hello, Stephen in wonderful Wiltshire, and say hello to you. Now we've got some of the smaller stones in this field, but over in the field over there you can see some larger stones, and you can have something to eat, and the food has been recommended, or if you wish you can try a pint of English ale. Now I need somebody's help now, hopefully. As I'm pointing my camera this way, magically the gate will open. And the camera's pointed away from us. I'm being looked after royally today. Okay, it's coming down to the road. I want to make sure that there is no traffic either way. Are we good? No? Right. Okay, so just waiting a minute. Okay, so we're now crossing the road that runs right through the circle and down across the other side. And my own friendly, favourite gatekeeper. Right, okay, so we're now crossing another field. As I say, you can see sheep in the distance. Sheep actually graze here, and we've got the stones, and you can see how they're laid out and how far round they go. And over there, in addition to the ditch, has been built, well, a mound. Okay, now we started at the mound earlier today, which is Silvery Hill. Mounds were designed obviously as a defence to keep people out, but the stones themselves, I'm sure they've got a story to tell. And this is a beautiful part of Wiltshire. For reference, it's about 10 miles away from Swindon, and it's about 10 miles away from where we are in Devizes, which means that we can come out here anytime and get some steps. Now, because this is outside the National Trust property, this is free to everybody, so you don't need to book to come here. You can just come here and you can walk around the stone circle, and it's not, we always say it's an amazing place as I pan round and give you the sheep and the farm buildings. Now, there is a village, there are farmhouses around here, and in the 17th and 18th century, when they were actually building the farmhouses, they thought to themselves, there's some stone down the road. So some of the stone from this stone circle is actually part of the buildings that we can see now in the village. Okay, they took the stone from here and repurposed it. But obviously that does detract from what we can see now. And that's why in the other field we're in, we've got the markers. Now, as I said earlier, around the circumference of the circle is a ditch. Now, you've got to remember that the only tools they had in those days were handmade tools, basically shovel, and this was all dug out by hand. So obviously this hill would have been continuous over there, and this ditch was created to prevent people from actually invading, as it were, by hand, and it stood the test of time. It's perfectly weathered. And over the side there, I'm just taking a photograph. I'm just going to go over here, and I'm going to wait for the people to actually come down the steps. And this is the most amazing tree. You can actually, I'm not going to do it, but you can actually walk up through the tree. There is a pathway which goes through the tree. But over the years, what has happened is that our monuments have been made more accessible, and we can now walk up here on a recently built pathway. I know in my hometown of Nelson in Lancashire, we have a hill which is called Pendle Hill, and there was a great outcry because going up Pendle Hill on Good Friday was tradition, and you had to do it the hard way because there was only a tiny path. And then they decided that they would build a stairway up the side of Pendle Hill so that more people could actually get to the top, and they can. I think that's died down now. I think we accept it. We are definitely in the middle of the countryside on a very cloudy day. It's not cold today. It's about 18 degrees. And we're going to walk along. And you notice that this path is based on chalk. And we're just going to walk over here, okay, and just enjoy the countryside. Has to be said, I know more about Stonehenge than I do about Avebury. I do know it's great walking country. There are several walks that the National Trust have mapped out that you can take from Avebury and go around the countryside. We're headed towards a path which is just beyond those trees, and that path leads right and it meets the Ridgeway. The Ridgeway is a national pathway which goes from south to north or north to south, and you can walk the Ridgeway in 2 or 3 days and go through several counties in doing so. It might be on the bucket list to do. Okay, and each night you're right. So you've seen the two quarters of the Avebury Circle. We started off at the visitor centre. Visitor centre has a museum which has got artifacts from Avebury. It has a display as well. So if you go to Avebury, you can spend half a day there, 2 or 3 hours at least, and obviously get your cream teas as well. Put the jam on first, followed by the cream. And it's one of the places to visit. If you're going to Stonehenge, then Avebury is in the same arena, as is Salisbury Cathedral. It's like a triangle. So you could visit all 3 in a day. 2 days is better. Go for 2 days and you'll see history from 4,500 years ago and history from hundreds of years ago as well. So Wiltshire is steeped in history, Roman history, pre-Roman history, going back 4,500 years. And it's all available for you to actually visit. You can visit some of it for free, or you can join the National Trust and you can get closer. Okay, the thing is, if you go to Stonehenge, okay, and I've got a Stonehenge video which I'm not playing today, I'll play it next week. If you go to Stonehenge, you can go to Stonehenge, you can walk around the outer circle for free, but you can't get anywhere near to the stones. So if you're after, this is me at Stonehenge as a memento photograph, Stonehenge is going to be about that big in the background. Yeah. Whereas if you paid a subscription to National Trust or English Heritage, then you can get closer to the stones. Twice a year, you can, winter solstice, summer solstice, you can actually go inside the stones along with the Druids, and you can touch the stones. And it's the only 2 days of the year where you can actually do that. There are also, if you want to get away from the madding crowd, is you can have a special tour. And they do special tours throughout the year, and you can actually have your own conducted tour around Stonehenge with one of the historians who knows all about it. Now, you can get guided tours of the places we've looked at, of Avebury, and of the one we're going to finish off with today, which is to continue our visit to Laycock Abbey. Laycock Abbey, built in 1332, part of the dissolution of the monasteries and the convents. It was closed down. Then it was given to an earl. The earl handed it down through his family until it got to Henry Fox Talbot, who took the world's first photograph. I'm just reminding you of the background to this video. And it's also the site of the filming of 3 of the Harry Potter films. Now, towards the end of this video, which is only about 5 or 6 minutes, and then I'll be back and we'll close today's broadcast. Thank you for watching, but I'll be back in 5 to 6 minutes. I'm just going to put Avebury away and bring up Laycock, and Laycock should be next to me. Okay, so we are at Laycock Abbey. If the video is wound back to the beginning, I shall fast forward it, but let's bring the video full screen. Let's turn off my microphone, press play, and you're going to visit the Cloisters where Harry Potter was filmed. Let's go for it. Let's come by farmland. Now, there's nothing grazing at the moment, but if we go over here and out of this secret, okay, we can come and get another view of the abbey itself. Now, the ground floor of the abbey, I'll just come around a bit. Okay, the ground floor of the abbey was built in 1332. Then there was the Henry VIII came to the throne in England, and churches, and especially nunneries and abbeys were dissolved. There could be no more, and the nuns who'd lived here and been taught here had to move, and they moved to nearby nunneries, and this was then closed down. Now it then fell into disrepair, but Henry VIII gave this to a baron, and the baron maintained the castle until the mid-1700s. Sorry, not the castle, the abbey. Maintained this until the mid-1700s. So Henry VIII gave it to an earl. The earl and his family looked after it. Then it went up for sale, and it was sold as a private building, and it was sold to Mr. Fox Talbot. And Mr. Fox Talbot in the 1700s actually built the second floor as we see it now. So we actually have two structures there. The lower structure, which was built in 1332. And as you can see, this is, especially on a sunny day, a favourite place for people to visit. Let's go over to the entrance and see what we can see. I know there's a verboten sign there, so we can't actually go in that way, but I'm hoping to go around. The problem I have with actually going inside the abbey is that I may lose Wi-Fi signal, which will most definitely cause a problem. Okay, now these grounds here are owned by the abbey, and as you can see, they're meadow and sheep. Seem to see sheep every time we go out doing these videos. If you're wondering where I am, I'm at Avebury in Wiltshire, and this is the abbey at Avebury, and I've come to this corner so that I can turn around and I can show you the abbey in all its glory. So I'm going to pan from the meadow over there and the ha-ha, which you'll remember. You've seen a ha-ha now, and come round and go to the top. Now, when the abbey is open to visitors, you can actually go in the rooms. The curtains are closed to protect everything that's inside, but you can actually do a tour of the rooms, and on Sunday you can do that tour until 4 o'clock, as I just found out. But the beautiful countryside around here, and there's a river running through it as well. So let's switch hands and just walk over here, and I'm going to see what's going to happen. But carrying on with the history, Henry Fox Talbot was, well, actually, he took the world's first ever photograph. Now the French may dispute that, but Henry Fox Talbot took the first ever photograph in the 1700s. He was a scientist and he was a pioneer of photography. And if it hadn't been for his work, and the work of the French obviously, I would not be doing this today. And the museum, which is part of this estate, you can actually visit on your visit to Laycock. So not only are you getting the opportunity to see around a nunnery, but you're also getting the opportunity to see photographic history with cameras, incredibly, from the 1700s onwards. And this is one place you do want to visit. I've given you so many places for your bucket list. Now I'm going to try and go in here. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm putting my mask on. I'm going to give them a head start. And I don't know what's going to happen to the signal. So this may be a quick visit. In fact, do we go in here? Well, after they've moved the pram, we shall have a quick look, because I should be able to get through that archway and show you the cloisters here. Because once we've gone through this bit, I'll just let them turn left. Okay, let's go for it. So this is the entrance to the abbey, and I'm going to turn right here.